Oh, okay. Well, we're live now. We're going live. All right. Let's let everybody in that's coming. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are here with Latoya Riggins, your host on the Craft Cafe Live. Let me get this view together. I'm putting it on gallery view right now. Hey, guys, we're on Zoom. Welcome, everybody that's coming in. I see a couple of people. Welcome to, this is our March date for our Craft Cafe Live, everybody. And just to let everybody know that's on the line, we are live on Facebook. I have to say that because some people don't realize we're live. They're like, we're live. I'm like, yes, we're live. So just to give you guys a quick background on what we're doing, this is our Unleash session. That is the brainchild of Craft by Better Futures. It is our social setting where we really get to examine what's going on in ECE. We bring in the experts so that you can get all your questions in, and we get to talk about what is really going on in ECE business. Now, I want to give a warm welcome and a shout out to one of the founders of Better Futures. We have him here. We have Dr. Robert Gunling. You guys can see him. Here he is. You want to say hi?
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks for joining us too. I know that you are a very busy guy. Just so that you know, Dr. Gunling has over 49 years of experience in the ECE field of everything. I'm talking about directing. He's the top consultant, top trainer, certified trainer in 4 or 5 states. Travels the world, you guys, going to save ECE businesses and get the word out there that we are a business and we want to make sure that the world understands what we're doing here and taking us seriously, as serious as we're taking ourselves. So great job to you for all the work that you put in the game, okay? Because we need that and we need more of it. So that's why we're here at Craft Cafe. This is our social setting. We want to welcome our guest for today. She is here, the beautiful Pearl Loftlin. Hey, honey, you are on mute. I'm excited to have you here today. Because those of you who don't know, I do marketing for Craft and all ECE, but my professional background when I work in companies is workforce development. So she's going to be here talking about onboarding and training. And that's something that I know historically in ECE doesn't happen all the time. So let's get you to introduce yourself and your company, and then we're going to get started.
Okay. So my name is Pearl Loftlin. Hello, everybody. I am a early childhood educator, have been in education since, I'm going to say 19 years. I just picked up a second job teaching 5th grade, so Lord help me. But my experience is mainly in early childhood education. My passion is early childhood education. I enjoy it. I love it. My real passion in early childhood education is onboarding, because it is vitally important to maintain staff retention. The name of my company is Moving Forward Training Solutions, where I provide trainings and set up onboarding systems and also set up training systems to kind of help you throughout the day. Because, you know, if you're running your own facility by yourself, some of those things get placed to this wayside because we have so many other things to do. So I'm here to kind of assist, just like Dr. Gooding is. And that is just a little bit about me. I have one daughter who's a 5th grader. So that's an exciting adventure in my life. I'm surrounded by 22 5th graders all day, and it is definitely testing my patience and love for children at this point.
Absolutely. I have 3 girls as well, so that is definitely where I live. I live in that area, and then kids around me all the time. So I want to say hi. Well, before we really dig into the conversation, I don't know if you guys can see it that are watching from home, but we have Megan and Denise on the line. Did you guys want to come on? And you don't have to come on camera. It's definitely optional. You guys, this is a lot of people's lunch break, so you might not want to come on camera, but I want you to come in and introduce yourself, say hi, tell us a little bit about you, and then we're going to get into it. Now, listen, you can opt to put it in the chat because I know that, like I said, some people are working and kids are on nap time right now, so you might want to be a little quiet. You might be on your AirPods or something. but I just wanted to give a shout out and thank you guys for coming to the session and be a part of this. If you have anything to add, any questions, comments, concerns, or anything like that, feel free to chime it in. I'm pulling us up on Facebook, so if anybody is watching at home from Facebook, definitely pop some questions in there so that I can get them to Pearl and we can get your questions answered. Okay, so let's get started. All right. Okay, got Mercedes coming in. All right, we got more people coming in because we're right here at 1 o'clock, you guys. So I'm super excited about this. I want to give another shout out to Jahi Davis. He's not here. He's the other half of Better Futures. Dr. Gullin's partner, Jahi B. Davis. He is our I call him the money man. He's our 20 plus year veteran in the business finance. So I'm going to give a shout out to him. Mercedes is in the building. All right. She's who I call the quiet storm. Oh, there she is. Mercedes, you want to say hi and introduce yourself? You're on. Okay, there you go.
Hi, everyone. I am Mercedes Fleet. I am the owner and director of Berkeley Scholars Early Learning Center. We are a Keystone 404 facility at both locations, and we're located in the northeast section of Philadelphia.
And check out Philadelphia, you guys. We love Philadelphia. Both of the guys are from Pennsylvania. We definitely have an office in Philadelphia. So we have an office in DC and in Philadelphia. So shout out to Philly. They're always in the building. We do a lot of work with you guys. So I'm super excited to have you guys always frequenting the Craft Cafe. All right. So let's dig into it. Pearl, we talked about onboarding. What I want to really add to that is what we did. Dr. Gullin, you can attest to this. We just wrapped, well, not just, but a couple of months ago, it feels like it was yesterday. We just wrapped our session at the naeyc conference, NAEYC, and we did a session called When is a Gift Not a Gift? Hiring and retaining staff during a staffing crisis. So we know that it's not just a hot topic. This is the real deal of what's going on. And now that's, we definitely touch on that, but this is something that you zero into. So tell me a little bit about what made you zero into this actual part of the business?
So I have gone to a lot of places and worked in a lot of places, and I'm a real systems driven person. My mind works better in systems. I can function better when I know the outcome of things. So, when I go into orientation, my expectation is you're going to tell me what I'm supposed to do, give me the paperwork that I need, and I'm going to be well prepared for my position. That, I'm going to say maybe out of my 20 plus years of working, it's happened once-ish. And so when I started as a trainer for the Navy, I was responsible for new employee orientation. I got thrown into this position. I didn't really know what I was doing. I just kind of taught myself along the way. I did have a manual. And in the manual, it just said, this is what you're responsible for. Okay, so I'm responsible for training staff and also making sure they're effective. So how can I do that with a process that doesn't exist? So I created the process, and with that, all the staff that I trained in my 5 years there, maybe 2 or 3 left because they either PCS'd or they found other jobs, or they just were not working to the best of their ability. So the process that I created allowed them to feel comfortable enough to go into classrooms and be productive and be effective. They were properly trained. They received all the things that they needed, so they knew what they were expected to do. And from that, every time I go into places now, my expectation is for me to receive what I need. And just listening to other staff members on how they come on board, they're displeased with the lack of consistency, the lack of structure, because they also don't know what to do. We already have to deal with children on a daily basis. To not know what I'm supposed to do on the side where my money comes from and where I'm going to get rated from is unfair. It's too much stress besides dealing with 5, 10, 12, 24 children on a daily basis. So that's my passion. It's just let me give you what you need so you can be fully prepared to do the job to the best of your ability, and our children don't suffer from that.
I love that. What I want to really dig into is what are the challenges that you are seeing from businesses, when they call you? Like, where are they there, and how do they get to that next place? Because one thing I know, managing people and recruiting people, two separate things. And a lot of times in ECE, you have to wear all the hats. So you have to do the recruiting, you have to do the interviews, you got to do the training. So it's like how, I worked for a corporation, so we had different departments that did different things. But one thing I saw in the early years that was missing was the onboarding. And I did see the difference when we started to do the onboarding and have it be an actual thing, like you said, systems. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like how are organizations showing up to you? Like what are some of the pitfalls of not having it that you've seen and the impact it's had on the business?
So they don't have a process in place from when they put out an ad to hire a teacher. They don't have the process on what they're going to do when they come in day one until they go in the classroom, because we know that in early child education, we are short staffed. So we are trying to get people in, bodies in the classroom, and make sure that we have enough bodies so that we can still maintain our ratios. So that's the issue, is that we're trying to hire people. And sometimes if we're hiring people straight out of high school or people with very little child care experience, they require extra support and training. So what I'm seeing is when they come to me, they say, okay, Pearl, hey, we want to put a system in place so that our staff feel fully prepared when they're coming into the classroom, because we feel like we have to retrain them more than we probably should from when they get hired and when they get onboarded. An organization that I worked for had multiple child development centers across the country in the northern part, and they didn't have a system in place. Everybody was kind of doing their own thing, which led to discrepancies across the board for the broader picture of the program. Because it's one program, one mission, one goal, but different facilities who had different ways of how they were bringing in staff. And so once the process was created, the staff that we did train in that process came out feeling like, okay, I'm very prepared. I want to stay in this program because I know all about the program. I know what I'm expected to do. And that's the issue. You're sending people into programming without the training that they need, and they can't retain that staff because they're overwhelmed because they didn't know the expectations. And so that's what people are coming to me and saying, hey, I can't retain staff. And I don't have enough time to give them the training that they need. So is there a process we can create to make sure they get all of the training that's required by the state and my licensing, and also make sure they have the information to be productive in their position? So that's exactly that's what's happening. That's what I'm seeing when they call me and ask for my help, or am I able to do it?
That sounds about right. Dr. Gullin, you had a question?
Thanks, Latoya. So Pearl, first, thank you for being here
Thank you.
on behalf of myself and Jahi. And also a shout out to Latoya, who is our Vice President for Professional Development, doing an outstanding job. Question I have, Pearl, I'm intrigued, was the experience you spoke about, did I understand, was with the Navy or community-based program?
It was with the Navy. So I started out my early childhood career in a privatized child care center making like $7 an hour. And I happened to come aboard when we had a week-long training. So that was the one job where I was fully prepared to do the job that I was supposed to do. But as I matriculated through school systems and also through the military, once I got past the HR department, I was just kind of thrown into my expectation. For example, the job that I have now was literally like, she's done this before. Let's just tell her what she's supposed to do, and here you go. And I'm just like, oh, okay.
So my question comes from my experience doing CDA verification visit in military programs. And that I know that the funding for military comes out of the defense budget. So I call it, with respect, those centers are like the resort. I mean, I walk in and there can be 5 there's a camera with a television when you walk in. There are coaches. So, and I think, and it's one of the reasons Jahi and I created Better Futures, and that is we talk around the word funding. And rather than saying, yes, we want an onboarding program, but this is what it would cost to implement consistently. So I'm curious whether those you work with now raise that question. And of course, if you've got any solutions, I'm all ears. Thanks.
They do raise that questions, and I have started to look for grants within certain areas where I'm working for to see if grants are available for professional development training. But one of the reasons why I created my company was so that I could provide this quality training for a lower cost, right? No, you can't afford $10,000 a year for onboarding, but you can maybe afford $65 an hour for a system to be put in place so I can train a staff in my facility to provide the training to new staff, right? So my goal is to give them what they need for a lower price than what I would get paid for if I went to the military, or I went to like a kinder care, or I went to any of the franchise child development centers, so that they still receive quality training for a lower price. And I have started to look for grants, and yes, the resorts are the military child care facilities. 100%, I agree with you. It's a different life on that side of town. So I don't want all the good stuff that I receive to go to waste, because there are way more privatized child care facilities than there are military child care facilities. And those children deserve the exact same thing that military children deserve.
Wow. So you guys said the military CDCs are like a resort?
Yes, they 100%. If I started off teaching in the military, I probably would never have left. 100%.
And in addition, it is a culture of systems. You win wars by having a system. And at one time in my career, I worked for Bright Horizons, and they operated a center on a base. And I was given a responsibility to go in and do one of the many, many observations that the military requires in order to ensure, not tell them, but have evidence of sustained high quality programs. So that's why I say respectfully, we have the model. Military childcare throughout my career was considered the national model, that we know how to do it right.
It's just having the money to do it right.
Shout out to Bright Horizons, you guys. Speaking of workforce development, in my workforce days, I love Bright Horizons. Shout out to them. They worked with me and my program to pretty much hire DC residents like constantly. I would have hiring events every month. And one thing that I did notice is they definitely had their own systems. I never had to help them. All I had to do was set up the event and bring the people, and they would take care of the second interview, the coordination of it, their onboarding, their training. And I really appreciated that. That's why this is such a big topic for me. It's near and dear to my heart. I actually enjoy doing it, like creating it, because working in workforce development, I worked with a lot of businesses. And what I saw, so many of them don't have it in place. And then they were wondering why, I can't find anybody. I can't keep employees. They keep quitting. And I'm like, well, what did you do? And when they said, well, I hired them and they start Monday. That's it, and go ahead, Dr. Glenn. I saw you had something.
Well, Pearl, I'd appreciate it if you would describe the onboarding process that you recommend and I'm sure are implementing with clients, because we get that request. And there are leaders of early childhood programs who, when they talk with us initially, say, I know in the regulations it requires I need to do onboarding, but I have no idea what that is. So I am curious.
So my process is a 2 to 3 week process. And I can go through each day, but I'll just do the first day, the first week, and the rest of the week. So the first day is very much a paperwork day. You come in, meet your manager, meet your trainer, get your agenda. This is the process we're going to go through. These are the trainings that you're going to do. This is what you're required to do. And this is going to be your schedule. And then that first day after you have that little brief meeting, we literally are discussing the immediate policies, child abuse, SIDS, everything that's required before you even step foot into a classroom. You get those trainings, right? And then the next week is the whole, I personally think it's a whole week of training to include observations. So they take what they get from the day of training. It's like a exit ticket, I guess. They are implementing what they learned, and they're going to go look for it in the classroom to make sure they're connecting the dots for that training. So the training is a week, and you get all of the pre-service trainings that you need. Probably all the trainings that you need for the year are within that 1 week. And then the second and third week are them finishing up their online trainings and meeting with important staff members, and also modeling and being supervised within the classroom with their lead teacher, their co-teacher, if it's at a director position or assistant director position, with their manager, and having those core meetings on, these are the expectations, this is how we do things, this is where you find things, this is how we talk to parents. Because as a trainer, I can't tell you what happens in the classroom if I'm not physically in your building. I did that when I was a trainer. So my people had me coaching them forever, right? Once I gave them trainings. But if you do onboarding with me, I can only do the training, and then you're responsible for the next 2 to 3 weeks to ensure that your employee feels welcomed, feels prepared, feels like you are there for them to support them in whatever they need, and that they really have a solid foundation to kind of work on. Because again, children are like, it's hard to kind of figure out where they're going to be every day, and to not have that level of knowledge base on why is this baby crying for 5 hours when it's its first day. Because I don't know, that's not them they're not attached because they just got here. Like, I wouldn't know that if I just started off, but I would know that because in my training, I received the developmental stages. I know what happens when they have separation anxiety. So I'm not as nervous about it or feeling overwhelmed. So that's kind of the process. It's longer, like I have a whole entire book. And then if I was to train your staff, they have the whole process as well that they would go through too, to train your staff to train your staff. Yeah, like train the trainer.
I love that. I really do. I mean, I definitely think that it needs to be something that we implement all throughout family child care. Definitely. I believe that it helps for the actual employee to feel more secure. You know what I mean? I've been to places where, like, I remember working at a corporate company. When I first started there, they didn't have any onboarding. I literally did the application. I went through 3 interviews, and they literally showed me a desk and was like, okay, that's where you work, go to work. And I'm literally sitting there like, oh, okay, I understand the job description, but I didn't know where to start. I didn't know where anything was. Luckily for me, one of my coworkers that had been there for a while kind of took me under her wing, was like, okay, this is how we do this. This is where you can find that. But it was really nerve-wracking, really nerve-wracking. That's why I was one of the people, like, I remember my days, so let's get this together. So when it came to other companies, especially in ECE, I was thinking, well, this is a way to really help your potential employee to actually stay there, is having that process. They feel more secure. They take it more seriously when they know, just like a child, when they know what the day is going to be like. They know it's going to be nap time at some point. They know, you know what I mean? They're kind of guided through that day as to, what are some things that we can do that's fun, that's educational, that we need, we need sleep, we need to eat. All those different things are already mapped out for you. I know children love it, but as an adult, we love it too. We like an agenda, an itinerary. When we go to even a dinner or something, you want to know what's supposed to happen, you know. So I'm really excited about this. So these are the steps that you put into place. Train the trainer. What do you say is probably the biggest challenge when you're working with ECE leaders?
I think one of the biggest challenges for me is because I'm a real personal trainer, and I like to be like ECE is such a personal field that it requires that level of personal relationship. So I really make sure that I build relationships with everybody, and that takes a long time. And so maybe everybody doesn't want to do that and pay for that service. But I feel like that's a challenge for me as a trainer, because I want to make sure they feel like they have someplace they can go. And I try to make sure I model that for directors who, and facilities and programs who may not have that culture, because just like you said, children need that level of relationship. But I think we forget that our employees need the same thing, because we're just big kids, right? Like we need structure, we need routine, we need to be introduced into a new system. We have a whole system that we have for children when they first start a program. So why would we not have that for our staff? Because like they are people too. And so again, the struggle is most organizations that struggle are set on having bodies, having quantity and not quality. And that's where we are falling short. And that's the struggle for me. Like, if you're going to hire somebody that's not qualified, I'm going to tell you. So, hey, I know we need a body, but they're not going to be ready. You're going to have to be in the classroom more with them. And that's going to take away from your duties as a director, as an assistant director, as a coach, because you're literally going to be there. Like, when you interview them, did you get a niche that they were going to even be a nut? Like, did they even like children? like
That's true.
We can't have bodies. We need quality, because these are children. These are babies, like babies that need extra support to kind of mold them into who they're going to be.
I like that you mentioned that in the interview. Do you go back as far as the interview? Like at what point do you step in? Because I'm thinking about onboarding. At that point, that means the person is already hired. When I back to our session at the NAEC conference about hiring and retaining staff, we did touch on that, about how are you interviewing? What are the types of questions that you're asking to really find out who this person is? So just a little bit of thing about that, like how far do you go back?
I can go back to the hiring process. I can go back to creating job descriptions for you, to setting workplace expectations.
That's what I was gonna say,
because that sets the tone. Like, how do you know even what to put on your ad if you don't even know what you're expecting your employee to do? So I can go as far back as that, to even interviewing, because again, I have done a lot of interviews myself personally for ECTE. I have given interviews. I have ran interview questions. So there's a whole process that I have gone through that I know how to weed out and know what kind of questions. The one question that everybody should always be asking is, what is your method for how you discipline children? Like, what step would you do if this child was having behavior challenges? If somebody says time out, that means they are not ready. They might not be ready, but that's a flag that you got to really say, okay, do they have experience? Could they be ready? Could they have potential? Because that means that they are still thinking about teaching children on a personal level versus on what we need and what's required, right? I've interviewed like 4 people at one time, and I got time out like 5 times. And I was like, so future reference, when you get that question, you don't ever want to say time out, right? And so I can go as far back as that to really make sure we're weeding out people and setting up questions that really speak to what your need is, so you can really, really assess if they're qualified and they're going to even be a good fit for your team.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's true. I love that you go that back. Now, is there anyone that's here on the Zoom with us that has any questions, comments? Maybe you work in the field. Let's hear it from you. Let's see, who do we have here? All right, we got Mercedes, we got Megan, we got Denise. Anybody have a question, comment, a war story? Who knows? Come on in here. Don't be shy. If you just want to listen, that's fine, but put it in the chat if that's the case, or just unmute yourself and let us hear it. Okay, because I definitely have questions. I always have questions, you guys. So I try to give other people a chance to have questions, though. But I'm just naturally curious. I'm very inquisitive, and that's because I want to, really dig into this because, like I said, it's a labor of love that I really enjoy what I do, and I love this industry. But I know that there's times where when you're working with business owners and leaders, sometimes you can get pushback. When you're trying to introduce an idea, they might not feel as valuable, or maybe they think that that's not going to work. Because one thing I hear from employers, when they get discouraged, I'll say, with turnover is real, and it hurts, and when I was in workforce development, I would talk to potential employees and tell them about, when you are choosing a job or a position, be sure that's something that you want, because people will say yes to the job and it won't show up. And that was a lot of the things that I was getting from employers, especially in ECE, where they will hire people wouldn't even show up. So that I can't even get them through the door. This was definitely a big problem in the pandemic because people were scared. People were used to the couch. People were on unemployment. It was a lot of different reasons why we were having this issue. I think it's starting to get a lot better now because people are pivoting on how they're doing things, changing the mode in which they do it. But tell me a little bit about what happens how do you handle pushback from business owners? Because I've had pushback from definitely different things that I've tried to consult with business owners. So how do you handle that? And tell me a little bit about what that looks like.
So pushback for me is, so what I don't do is try to force people to do things that they don't want to do, because they're not going to do it, right? I will show you why it's good. I will give you examples, and I will let you know how it will work for you. But if you choose not to do it, then that's the choice, right? You're making this choice. I have given you the tools that you need. I've given you the reasons why it will help you. I have shown you proof that it is effective, and you just might not be ready, which is perfectly fine. I will always circle back because, again, I'm about relationships. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't matter if you don't decide to use my services. I still want what's best for you and your company in general, unless you're just real nasty. If you're nasty, then I'm not. There's no reason for us to have conversations. But I definitely always circle back at least every 3 months, if just to kind of check in and say, hey, how are things going? Have you kind of looked at what we talked about? Do you have any questions? Are you still having some challenges? Is there any way I can help? And it doesn't have to be for a fee, but if you want a lot of services, then I'm going to say there is a fee. But I just want you to be successful, because the end game is we are here to take care of children. And I don't care if you get it from me, if you get it from somebody else, these children deserve the best that they get, right? Like, we are with them half of their life. So let's give them what they deserve. Because what if this was your baby? I want my baby to get the best that she can get. And when she doesn't get it, I am a different type of parent, right? Like, I know what she can do. I know what you're supposed to do. So I want that for people who work with other people's children. I'm a teacher. God help my life. But I want to make sure that they get what they're supposed to get. So if I'm at work and my onboarding was crappy, it doesn't really matter at that point. I might as well suck it up, deal, and go to work, because I came here to work with children. It's not about how I feel as an adult. It is, but my main focus is children. So I need to do what I need to do. And so it doesn't matter if you give me pushback or not, if you want me or not. I just want you to do what's best for the kids that you're taking care of, because people are trusting you with their kids and their money. And that is two very important things.
So
yeah, sorry.
I have a comment and a question, because like Latoya, although my perspective comes as an early childhood educator, I tell people on the inside, I'm still 2 years old, asking every question and why. So my comment is, so we were at the NAEYC Public Policy Forum, and two of the speakers were actually the staffers that from the Republican and Democratic Party that actually wrote the Build Back Better program. And after they were done, what they shared was just incredibly informative. I went up to one of them and asked, what's business doing to start to contribute their fair share? Because without us, and I think we're at a transformative moment, we got to seize it. We are in the limelight. More funding is available than ever in my career. And she mentioned to me, and I'm going to start to do the research for us, but happy to share with you, that the Department of Commerce, that's the federal Department of Commerce, is getting traction from businesses to provide funding to strengthen business operations of early childhood programs. So I just suggest to you, you might. And of course, the apprenticeship program is new and growing. My question is, in our field, as I'm sure you know, diversity, equity, and inclusion is a very important topic right now. So how do you respond to your clients when I would hope they'd ask the question, how do we ensure that this onboarding is equitable and takes into consideration the diverse cultures of the people that are coming onto our staff?
So my process is, that's a good question. So my process for diversity and inclusion is I literally, so again, I feel like I've always been in an inclusive state. So I function in that space where my training is literally a generalized training, and it talks about all children as a whole, because that's what developmentally appropriate practices teach us, right? That we have to make sure we understand their culture so that we can provide them with better care. So that's how I train my staff. Like, I ask questions. I am by nature, again, very inquisitive. Like, I probably have gotten fired because I've asked too many questions from a couple of jobs, right? Because I like to know the why. Like, I will do what you need me to do, but make it make sense. That's all I'm saying. Just tell me, Pearl, I need you to do X, Y, and Z so that we can do this. I don't care if it's a lie or not, but just let me know the why so I can fully invest in it and fully be excited about it. Because if not, I'm just going to do it because you told me to, and I'm being respectful, and it won't have any level of high excellence. It'll be excellent, but just not high, right? So I get to know my when I'm training staff or when I'm talking to businesses, I get to know their culture first, so I know how to provide the training for what they need. Because culturally, they may deal with children in a different manner. So I want to make sure I provide them with information and examples from their culture. So like, if I had a Hispanic culture and I know that they are big on family and eating together, when we're doing family style dining, that's when I would say, this is a big thing for cultures. This is what you do. This is a great time for you to insert what you're comfortable with. This is going to make you feel comfortable because this is a part of your culture. And we also do this within the facility. Like, those are things that I make sure I do, because if I don't know who you're hiring, where they come from, I won't be able to give them personalized training, because my goal is to provide them with personalized onboarding processes. So I make it real to them and they understand, and it makes it personal. Once something's personal, you take pride in it. So you're going to know, and you're going to feel more comfortable working with children because you feel comfortable, because you understand it. It makes sense to you. So everything I do is personal. For example, we did a child abuse training and we talked about Mongolian spots, right? How many people know that is if they've never worked with a child that has them? So I make sure I show different.
What is that, bro? You said Mongolian what?
Spots. So there's spots different of the Mongolian culture has like spots that look like bruises on your head. Oh. So if you don't know what they are and you don't know the culture of your child, or you don't know what's going on in their house, you would think that they're getting abused, and that would lead to something that's not necessary. So again, that's something that I also learned when I was giving a training, right?
I was 8 years old when I learned that. I was like, what is that? I missed that.
Yes. Wow. So those are things that like I take pride in making sure I research and I get to know every team that I work with, because I don't want them to ever leave a training or any conversation that we have, not gaining some information, not feeling like this was impactful to them, and not leaving with more questions that they might need to ask or changing their mind about how they want to do certain things. So that's how I address diversity in, equity and inclusion, because there's no way you can't be it's impossible to not know about the diverse culture that you have. It's impossible to not know and not be equitable across the board, because children are just children and they all have the same spirit and they bleed the same blood. So they literally are just people. So that's what I like to tell my businesses when we're doing those things. And this is how you address it. You get to know your staff. You make sure you allow them the opportunity to talk about things that's important to them and how they were raised and how they were taught, so that we can tell them, okay, this is just like that. This is how this looks. And you understand their need. Like, this is what I need for my culture. This is why I do this. If we have more conversations with people instead of making assumptions, then it would be a lot easier for our lives. And that takes time, right? But we don't have time as directors or coaches because somebody's not at work. So I understand that complexity.
And then Pearl, a question I have is, under LaToya's leadership, a good percentage of our clients are actually family child care business owners. So I'm curious if you work with family child care business owners, because of course, one of the things we do is, and we're seeing more family child care business owners do not want to open a center. They want to increase the revenue and quality of their home-based business. And so we're supporting them to be offering non-traditional care, which many of them have the ability to do. And often the first thing they'll say to us is, well, I'll be too tired. I can't do this 24/7. And of course, our response is, but you're a business. So you're going to need to put the system, the structure in place to hire staff.
Yeah.
Just curious whether you've had any family child care business owners contact you, and if not,
I haven't had any contact me. But when I worked for the military, I did train family child care providers as well. So we have created a system for them to hire and onboarding. But what I have learned in my time is that family child care, military child care, civilian child care, the hiring process is literally the same, because we are looking for highly qualified, passionate educators. It doesn't matter in what capacity they're going to work in. It's just, we need that person first. And then when we create the system, it just is based on what the need is. So family child care, I need a 24-hour person to work from 6 to 6 in the morning. You give me what they need to do, we can set up a plan, and the system can be effortless. Because a person that's working 6 to 6, because I also worked at a 24-hour center. So I have that experience to kind of know what that looks like in the wraparound in the evening. And that's a bless everybody's heart, because that's a job. I've worked many overnights and was like, this is not for Pearl, but everybody that did do it, they did it well. But there's so much downtime in that part that if you hired enough staff in family childcare, one person, literally all the work that she has to do during the daytime can be done in that nighttime part. And that training requires a little bit more hands-on from a family childcare provider. And that's also a process that we can work with. I haven't had any contact me for that purpose. And I always am open for people expanding my knowledge base and challenging me to kind of grow in my area and in my field. So if you have somebody that's interested, let me know and we can have a conversation for sure.
Well, I'm sure Dr. Dillon knows plenty because he knows everyone. I can never introduce anyone to this man. He already knows them. Every time I think I found somebody he doesn't know, I'm like, I want you to meet. And he's like, oh, hey, bro, it's been so long. And I'm like, oh. So I got more questions, you guys. We're winding down to the hour, but I want to flip some questions in. You got some questions, Dr. Dillon?
No, if you don't mind. So, Pearl, as you know, early childhood educators are about serving each other.
Yes.
I would encourage you to go to the National Association of Family Childcare website. They have just launched a very ambitious professional development benefit for their members. So it might be a way for you to get yourself in front of them. Our experience, well, I'll speak for myself. Well, I'll say we love working with family childcare business owners because their situation is similar, but also some specialized challenges. And they're just so, we find, willing to learn. So I would just encourage you, it's a relatively new initiative. And Latoya says, I know everyone. Well, that's how I've built my network.
I will look into that. Thank you.
I love it though, because that's what I do when nobody knows me. I'm like, you know Dr. Gunlin, right? And he's like, oh yeah. So that's kind of like my name dropping when I'm out in the ECE circuits. Like when we were doing the naeyc conference, they had all these different ballrooms and different things going on that I was invited to. And when I got in there, usually we go together. So I have him in hand, but when he's not around, I definitely drop your name. And they're like, well, who are you? I'm Latoya, Dr. Gunlin. Yeah, that's where I know you from. All right. But you said that too, Pearl, about building relationships. And that's something that I'm big on too. So I'm just really happy to be here in this moment with you guys and just
thank you.
Share the passion. I can tell the passion that you share, just like us, with really moving. And your name says it all, moving forward training solutions. And that's what I say. We're helping to move this industry forward. And I feel like we've been behind for so long, and now this is our time. This is our day. Legislation is coming around, noticing us. All these different states coming up with funds. Like you said, this is a great time for funding. So you guys, if you are receiving this funding and you don't know what to do with it, come on down to Craft by Better Futures. We have a ton of business and business professionalism, business finance, business operations, business marketing, all of those things that you're going to need to improve your business. Don't just spend the money on fixing it up. Invest in that part of your business, in the professional development, you guys, because it's going to pay off. If you haven't learned anything from what Pearl and Dr. Gunlin have been saying this whole session, take away the fact that you need these systems. If they're doing this in the military and it's running all smooth and they're talking about results, it's definitely because of the systems. So just to wind us down, I have one more question. Okay. I got more, but I only got time for one. Now, like I said, as a recruiter and a hiring manager, I had to give people 90 days. Any evaluation pretty much. So like not monitor them, but I would say evaluate them over a 90-day period and do, we set up things with check-ins and things like that. What I want to know is what happens, that's the onboarding. What do you do about the exit? Because that's one thing that I would do is like exit interviews. And that's something that a lot of people are not doing. And I would always suggest it to companies when they're experiencing high turnover. Because we need to know, why are y'all leaving? It's usually, there's a quote I saw and I thought was really powerful that said, people don't quit jobs, they quit managers. So what do you guys do about the exit piece? How are you guys handling that when the turnover actually happens?
So every job that I have left or been fired from, I have never had an exit interview ever. I was told I had one when I worked a temp job at a nonprofit. They gave me the exit interview, and they asked questions about how do I feel about training? What do I feel like I could have received more training in? They asked a lot of important questions. I wasn't necessarily leaving for a reason, but it was just a temporary job. But I do believe that they do that for every position. That was my first time ever experiencing that. And I thought it was really effective because you 100%. So here's the thing. We can do a lot of talking, but if we're not going to do anything with the data, it doesn't really matter. So my first statement is, if you're going to do an exit interview, make sure you use the information to better yourself, right? If you're not going to do that, don't waste paperwork and don't waste your time. That doesn't make sense to me, because you don't have a lot of time to waste in general. And so when it comes to exit interview, I have a lot of good questions. It's really 3 questions. What was your experience like here? What do you feel like you would have, what did you want more of? What did you want less of? And how was your manager to you? How was your supervisor? Do you feel like you were managed, bossed, or supervised? Because those are all 3 different things, right?
Yeah.
Literally, those are 3 starkly different things. So that will determine how you address your managers, how you address your coaches, your supervisors, your teachers, and how you kind of change processes, because it could be a system thing, it could be a personal thing. Some people don't mesh. Children don't mess with teachers. We don't mess with adults. It's just, it could just be a dynamic thing that you really have no control over, but you still want to know because it's yours and it belongs to you and you are responsible for the culture that you're creating. And you don't want people to leave and give you a bad review, because that one review going to turn into 20, that's going to turn into 300, and then you're not going to have any kids, and then it's not going to be effective. Or staff that want to come work here. Like,
yeah, that's a big deal that I do with I do a digital presence analysis on businesses, and that's definitely part of it, the reputation and like the Yelp, and people will give you more. They will get up in the morning and give you a bad review. You know what I mean? Like, they are very motivated more than they would for a positive review. So you have to definitely be on top of that and figure out what's happening. Let's see. Okay, Mercedes, are you able to share? Because I know some of you guys are still at the centers right now, but she put in the chat, she's had some people tell her that why they left. Here she is. Can you tell us a little bit about how that went down?
So recently I had someone literally come in and work 2 days for me. Ooh. And she emailed me over the weekend and said that she was resigning because she got another job offer. Now, she never said what kind of job offer, like where was that, if it was like still in childcare. But she did say she got another job offer and that they were paying her more money. And then I had another person who I knew outside of work that was working for me, and I found out through a mutual friend that she had went to another daycare because they were paying more money. And then some people, they just up and leave.
Yeah. Most times when people are leaving childcare, especially, privatized childcare, it is a money issue, right? Like, that is just something that we can't really change based on our budget. So those are things that are uncontrolled, like that you can't control. Those are those variables that you just can't really control. And that's the worst, because it's always really good people who tend to leave, who have impacted children in a strong way. And that just breaks my heart all the time. So if my dream, Dr. Goodling, is like, if we could pay people the way the military pays people and prioritize childcare. That is my like dream, to find money so that they can start off making $12, $13, $14, $15, $17 an hour to take care of children for 8 to 9 hours a day. That's my my dream.
Pearl, the reality is that momentum is in process.
Ooh,
so in Washington, D.C., for example, we have in legislation and commitment that when the law is fully implemented, anyone working with young children will be paid at parity, will be compensated, not paid, compensated at parity with our public school teachers. So that's the full package. And DC isn't alone. Compensation is at the forefront now because of the staffing crisis and its impact on businesses not able to hire their employees. And that's what I mean. I think our challenge right now is to reimagine and rethink and open our minds to what's happening right now and taking advantage of it.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to chime in real quick.
Come on in.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Denise. We just recently at our centers, we've done exit interviews for quite some time, and really we didn't get a lot of feedback doing the exit interviews the way we were doing it. We were actually scheduling them as we would an interview in person. So what I started to do is make it actually a worksheet, and we hand it to the staff member who's leaving, and we ask them to fill it out and just to leave it on our desk. And the last question on the survey basically is, would you like a meeting with the program director, or would you like a meeting with the executive director? So that leaves it open to them, up to them, if they would like to meet with us in person to discuss anything. But we've only had one staff leave since we've done this, and we received a lot more. The answers were more honest, and they were more covered. It seemed like the person put a lot of thought into it instead of just giving me yes, no answers, or just trying not to hurt anyone's feelings. It allows them then to maybe even criticize me in the way that I run things, or their director, without having to do it to our faces, to help us better ourselves. So so far, like I said, we've only done it with one person. We've been fortunate, only one has left so far, but I like the response that I get from giving them the exit interview in writing.
That's an excellent idea. You know, we oftentimes insult people better on paper than we do in person. So not to say you're going to get insulted,
we're not
but
staring at you across the table.
Right. It's easier to do. I mean, because when I do training evaluations, I send my evaluations out and I get them back that way, because people will respond better on paper because it's anonymous. Well, not necessarily always anonymous, but you still can just say how you truly felt versus me sitting in your face and telling you, I didn't appreciate how you did this. This is why I'm leaving. I can do that because I don't mind people knowing, because it's not for me to be mean, but it's just a way for me to say, this is what my need was and it wasn't met, and this is why I'm leaving. But that was growth. That happened literally 3 years ago. So like everybody's not there yet. So
yeah, I think that it also allows the individual to process the question and put a little thought into the answer. Whenever they come into my office, they don't really know what to expect, what questions are going to be asked. So this allows them to look at the question, think about it a little bit, and then come up with an answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. I would probably do like a link so that it is kind of anonymous, because then they really let her rip. You know, because if they have to leave the paper on your desk, you know who left it, you know?
Yeah.
But if it goes into like a little, blank where they don't have to say their name, it just the answers. But I love that. Oh yeah, that's what Mercedes said. Hey Mercedes, she's driving right now. I don't know how you type it and drive it. I'm thinking of a jot form where they can do it anonymous. Yeah, that's what she said. Oh, we great minds think alike. But
Yeah, my training evaluation is on Google Docs, and Google Docs will turn into a spreadsheet for you, so you can really get to see what it is. So mine is a Google Doc, and it literally, you can put your email in, or you don't have to, but it provides, and it's also great to have it so you can use it for feedback for reviews as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I love the docs where you can kind of see all the information at a glance and compare and see what your biggest, I could say, issues are. I'm excited, you guys. Well, we're right at 2:00. I have some more questions, but don't worry. I want to give Pearl a quick second so that you can shout your business out. How can we find you? There's a QR code showing. Only thing is on our Facebook Live, it's showing up your logo part. Like, because you were on a different audio, but
yeah,
verbally tell us how to get to you.
So you can find me on Facebook at Moving Forward Training Solutions, Instagram and LinkedIn. And my website is my whole name, movingforwardtrainingsolutions.com. You can find me there. And the best way to go is to go on Instagram and look me up. It's Moving Forward TS. That's what it's under. And there's a quick calendar button in the bio where you can click and set up a meeting and we can have a conversation. I do a lot of different trainings, from everything to nothing, I guess you could say. I do compliance. I do compliance reviews. So if you're trying to get ready for an inspection or anything related to naeyc, or you just need to be in compliance for state regulations, I can come in and do that for you. I create systems. I do onboarding, customer service, CPR, first aid training. I am able to do all the things. And this is the training that you're thinking about doing, or you feel like you might need some training, but you don't know. I provide training analysis so we can kind of sit and figure out what's necessary and what's needed. And that's how you can reach me. So movingforwardtrainingsolutions.com, the hi, hello me. I'm also there as well. And I'm on Instagram and Facebook.
I know that's right. Thank you so much, Pearl, for doing this. I'm so excited to have you on here. We're definitely going to do more things. I just wanted to get you onto the cafe so that we can let everybody know about what you do. Yeah. And we can talk about it because it's a huge deal in any business, but especially in ECE. So I just want to thank you again and again and again. And you guys, if you didn't get that, you went too fast. Obviously, you must follow me on the platforms. She is tagged in the promos for this episode, you guys. So you can get to her from my page too. She's tagged in all the posts. You can just click on it and it'll take you right to her. Make sure you get time with her, get some questions answered, and get her services, because it's gonna be a great thing. And this is what I love to tell people, because everybody that comes to the sessions is always bringing some type of a professional development. As you know, I'm vice president of professional development. So what I love to tell people is, guys, this is an expense that you can write off in your taxes as a business owner. So it is the gift that keeps on giving. So virtually it pays for itself. So when people are like, well, I don't have the money for that, you got this. There's grant funding. If you don't have the spare money, grant funding is all types of things that you can do to make sure that you are pushing your business forward. With a craft membership, of course, and going over to our affiliates and really getting their services. So you guys know that our craft memberships are on sale right now. Our craft family membership is retailing at $79 for the whole year, you guys. And guess what? You do get complimentary one-on-ones with your memberships, all members. Okay. Now we have our Craft Plus membership. That is for all centers. Craft Family obviously is geared toward family childcare. And then we have our premier Craft Lux, which is for any provider that is looking to make a major overhaul on their business. This membership is super special because it not only comes with all of our courses, it comes with unlimited one-on-ones, you guys. You get VIP treatment, 10-minute grace periods on our Zooms and things like that. And we do not give grace periods. So that is, that's priceless right there. What I want you to know is we got our Wave Boot Camp coming up, you guys. If you have not heard of it, then I need to tell you about it. It's our accounting boot camp. If you're an entrepreneur and you are still using spreadsheets, no, honey, you need to get with it and get your things in order, get your business in order. We got plenty of success stories. Mercedes, I think you did it, didn't you? We have the Wave app. It is free. It's an online accounting software. Some of you heard of QuickBooks, but yep, you can log off. Everybody, it's time to go. You can go back to your life. And thank you so much again, Pearl. Thank you, Mercedes, for being on. Thank you, Denise, for chiming on in there. And thank you, Megan, for being here. I wish you would have came on, but we're going to come next time and we're going to hear what you got to say. So, guys, have a great afternoon. Follow us on all platforms, Craft by Better Futures and Craft Cafe Live. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.